an Indian aerospace scientist who served as the 11th President of India from 2002 to 2007. He was born and raised in Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu and studied physics and aerospace engineering. He spent the next 4 decades as a scientist and science administrator, mainly at the Defence Research and Development Organization and Indian Space Research Organization, and was intimately involved in India's civilian space program and military missile development efforts. He thus came to be known as the Missile Man of India for his work on the development of ballistic missile and launch vehicle technology. He also played a pivotal organizational, technical and political role in India's Pokhran-II nuclear tests in 1998, the first since the original nuclear test by India in 1974. Hello and welcome to UPSC Polity View. Today, let's learn about APJ Abdul Kalam. Avul Pakir Jainulabdeen Abdul Kalam was born on 15th October 1931 and he died on 27 July 2015. Kalam was elected as the 11th President of India in 2002 with the support of both the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and the then opposition Indian National Congress. Widely referred to as the People's President, he returned to his civilian life of education, writing and public service after a single term. He was a recipient of several prestigious awards, including the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor. While delivering a lecture at the Indian Institute of Management, Shillong, Kalam collapsed and died from an apparent cardiac arrest on 27 July 2015, aged 83. Thousands, including national-level dignitaries, attended the funeral ceremony held in his hometown of Rameswaram, where he was buried with full state honors. Let's learn about the early life and education of APJ Abdul Kalam. Avul Pakir Jainulabdeen Abdul Kalam was born on 15th October 1931 to a Tamil Muslim family in the pilgrimage center of Rameswaram on Pamban Island, then in the Madras Presidency and now in the state of Tamil Nadu. His father Jainulabdeen Marakayar was a boat owner and imam of a local mosque. His mother Ashiamma was a housewife. His father owned a ferry that took Hindu pilgrims back and forth between Rameswaram and the now uninhabited Dhanushkodi. Kalam was the youngest of 4 brothers and 1 sister in his family. His ancestors had been wealthy Marakaya traders and landowners with numerous properties and large tracts of land. Even though his ancestors had been wealthy Marakaya traders, the family had lost most of its fortunes by the 1920s and was poverty-stricken by the time Kalam was born. Marakayar are a Muslim ethnic found in coastal Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka who claim descendants from Arab traders and local women. Their business had involved trading groceries between the mainland and the island and to and from Sri Lanka, as well as ferrying pilgrims between the mainland and Pamban. As a young boy, he had to sell newspapers in order to add to the family's meager income. With the opening of the Pamban bridge to the mainland in 1914, however, the businesses failed and the family fortune and properties were lost over time, apart from the ancestral home. In his school years, Kalam had average grades but was described as a bright and hard-working student who had a strong desire to learn. He spent hours on his studies, especially mathematics. After completing his education at the Squads Higher Secondary School, Ramanathapuram, Kalam went on to attend St. Joseph's College, Tiruchirappalli, then affiliated with the University of Madras, from where he graduated in physics in 1954. He moved to Madras in 1955 to study aerospace engineering in Madras Institute of Technology. While Kalam was working on a senior class project, the dean was dissatisfied with his lack of progress and threatened to revoke his scholarship unless the project was finished within the next 3 days. Kalam met the deadline, impressing the dean, who later said to him, "I was putting you under stress and asking you to meet a difficult deadline." He narrowly missed achieving his dream of becoming a fighter pilot as he placed 9th in qualifiers and only 8 positions were available in the IAF. Let's learn about Kalam's career as a scientist. After graduating from the Madras Institute of Technology in 1960, Kalam joined the Aeronautical Development Establishment of the Defence Research and Development Organisation as a scientist after becoming a member of the Defence Research and Development Service. He started his career by designing a small hovercraft but remained unconvinced by his choice of a job at DRDO. Kalam was also part of the INCOSPAR committee working under Vikram Sarabhai, the renowned space scientist. In 1969, Kalam was transferred to the Indian Space Research Organisation (ISRO), where he was the project director of India's first satellite launch vehicle SLV-3, which successfully deployed the Rohini satellite in near-Earth orbit in July 1980. Kalam had first started work on an expandable rocket project independently at DRDO in 1965. In 1969, Kalam received the government's approval and expanded the program to include more engineers. In 1963 to 1964, Kalam visited NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, and Wallops Flight Facility. Between the 1970s and 1990s, Kalam made an effort to develop the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle PSLV and SLV-3 projects, both of which proved to be successful. Kalam was invited by Raja Ramanna to witness the country's first nuclear test, Smiling Buddha, as a representative of TBRL, even though he had not participated in its development. In the 1970s, Kalam also directed 2 projects, Project Devil and Project Valiant, which sought to develop ballistic missiles from the technology of the successful SLV program. Despite the disapproval of the Union Cabinet, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi allotted secret funds for these aerospace projects through her discretionary powers under Kalam's directorship. Kalam played an integral role convincing the Union Cabinet to conceal the true nature of these classified aerospace projects. His research and educational leadership brought him great laurels and prestige in the 1980s, which prompted the government to initiate an advanced missile program under his directorship. Kalam and Dr. V.S. Arunachalam, metallurgist and scientific advisor to the Defence Minister, worked on the suggestion by the then Defence Minister R. Venkataraman on a proposal for simultaneous development of a quiver of missiles instead of taking planned missiles one after another. R. Venkataraman was instrumental in getting the cabinet approval for allocating 3.88 billion Indian rupees for the mission, named Integrated Guided Missile Development Program or IGMDP, and appointed Kalam as the chief executive. Kalam played a major part in developing many missiles under the mission, including Agni, an intermediate range ballistic missile, and Prithvi, the tactical surface-to-surface missile, although the projects have been criticized for mismanagement and cost and time overruns. Kalam served as the Chief Scientific Advisor to the Prime Minister and Secretary of the Defence Research and Development Organisation from July 1992 to December 1999. The Pokhran-II nuclear tests were conducted during this period, in which he played an intensive political and technological role. Kalam served as a chief project coordinator along with Rajagopala Chidambaram during the testing phase. Media coverage of Kalam during this period made him the country's best-known nuclear scientist. However, the director of the site test, K. Santhanam, said that the thermonuclear bomb had been a fizzle and criticized Kalam for issuing an incorrect report. Both Kalam and Chidambaram dismissed the claims. In 1998, along with cardiologist Soma Raju, Kalam developed a low-cost coronary stent named the Kalam-Raju stent. In 2012, the duo designed a rugged tablet computer for healthcare in rural areas which was named the Kalam-Raju tablet. Let's learn about the presidency of APJ Abdul Kalam. Kalam served as the 11th President of India, succeeding K.N. Narayanan. He won the 2002 presidential election with an electoral vote of 922,884, surpassing the 107,366 votes won by Lakshmi Sanghal. His term lasted from 25th July 2002 to 25th July 2007. On 10th June 2002, the National Democratic Alliance, or NDA, which was in power at the time, expressed that they would nominate Kalam for the post of president, and both the Samajwadi Party and the Nationalist Congress Party backed his candidacy. After the Samajwadi Party announced its support for Kalam, Narayanan chose not to seek a second term in office, leaving the field clear. Kalam said of the announcement of his candidature, "I am really overwhelmed. Everywhere, both in internet and in other media, I have been asked for a message. I was thinking what message I can give to the people of the country at this juncture." On 18th June, Kalam filed his nomination papers in the Indian Parliament, accompanied by Vajpayee and his senior cabinet colleagues. The polling for the presidential election began on 15th July 2002 in Parliament and the state assemblies, with the media claiming that the election was a one-sided affair and Kalam's victory was a foregone conclusion. The count was held on 18th July. Kalam became the 11th President of the Republic of India in an easy victory and moved into the Rashtrapati Bhavan after he was sworn in on 25th July. Kalam was the third President of India to have been honoured with a Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honour. Before becoming the President, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and Zakir Hussain were the earlier recipients of Bharat Ratna, who later became the President of India. He was also the first scientist and the first bachelor to occupy Rashtrapati Bhavan. During his term as President, he was affectionately known as the People's President, saying that signing the Office of Profit Bill was the toughest decision he had taken during his tenure. Kalam was criticized for his inaction in deciding the fate of 20 out of the 21 mercy petitions submitted to him during his tenure. Article 72 of the Constitution of India empowers the President of India to grant pardons and suspend or commute the death sentence of convicts on death row. Kalam acted on only one mercy plea in his 5-year tenure as President, rejecting the plea of rapist Dhananjay Chatterjee, who was later hanged. Perhaps the most notable plea was from Afzal Guru, a Kashmiri terrorist who was convicted of conspiracy in the December 2001 attack on the Indian Parliament and was sentenced to death by the Supreme Court of India in 2004. While the sentence was scheduled to be carried out on 20th October 2006, the pending action on his mercy plea resulted in him remaining on death row. He also took the controversial decision to impose President's rule in Bihar in 2005. In September 2003, in an interactive session in PGI Chandigarh, Kalam supported the need of uniform civil code in India, keeping in view the population of the country. At the end of his term on 20th June 2007, Kalam expressed his willingness to consider a second term in office provided there was certainty about his victory in the 2007 presidential election. However, 2 days later, he decided not to contest the presidential election again, stating that he wanted to avoid involving Rashtrapati Bhavan from any political processes. he did not have the support of the left parties Shiv Sena and UPA constituents to receive a renewed mandate. Nearing the expiry of the term of the 12th President Pratibha Patil on 24 July 2012, media reports in April claimed that Kalam was likely to be nominated for his second term. After the reports, social networking sites witnessed a number of people supporting his candidature. The BJP potentially backed his nomination, saying that the party would lend their support if the Trinamool Congress, Samajwadi Party and Indian National Congress proposed him for the 2012 presidential election. A month ahead of the election, Mulayam Singh Yadav and Mamata Banerjee also expressed their support for Kalam. Days afterwards, Mulayam Singh Yadav backed out, leaving Mamata Banerjee as a solitary supporter. On 18 June 2012, Kalam declined to contest the 2012 presidential poll. He said of his decision not to do so, "Many citizens have also expressed the same wish. It only reflects their love and affection for me and the aspiration of the people. I am really overwhelmed by this support. This being their wish, I respect it. I want to thank them for the trust they have in me." Let's learn about APJ Abdul Kalam after his presidency. After leaving office, Kalam became a visiting professor at the Indian Institute of Management Shillong, the Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad, and the Indian Institute of Management Indore, an honorary fellow of Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, Chancellor of the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology Thiruvananthapuram, Professor of Aerospace Engineering at Anna University, and an adjunct at many other academic and research institutions across India. Kalam taught information technology at the International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, and technology at Benares Hindu University and Anna University. In 2011, Kalam was criticized by civil groups over his stand on the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. He supported the establishment of the nuclear power plant and was accused of not speaking with the local people. The protesters were hostile to his visit as they saw him as a pro-nuclear scientist and were unimpressed by the assurances he provided regarding the safety features of the plant. In May 2012, Kalam launched a program for the youth of India called the What Can I Give movement, with a central theme of defeating corruption. On 27 July 2015, Kalam travelled to Shillong to deliver a lecture on creating a livable planet Earth at the Indian Institute of Management Shillong. While climbing a flight of stairs, he experienced some discomfort but was able to enter the auditorium after a brief rest. At around 6:30 p.m. IST, only 5 minutes into his lecture, he collapsed. He was rushed to the nearby Bethany Hospital in critical condition. Upon arrival, he lacked a pulse or any other signs of life. Despite being placed in the intensive care unit, Kalam was confirmed dead of a sudden cardiac arrest at 7:45 p.m. IST. His last words to his aide Srijan Pal Singh were reportedly, "Funny guy, are you doing well?" Following his death, Kalam's body was airlifted in an Indian Air Force helicopter from Shillong to Guwahati, from where it was flown to New Delhi on the morning of 28 July in an Air Force C-130J Hercules. The flight landed at Palam Air Base that afternoon and was received by the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, Chief Minister of Delhi Arvind Kejriwal, and the 3 service chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces who laid wreaths on Kalam's body. His body was then placed on a gun carriage draped with the Indian flag and taken to his Delhi residence at 10 Rajaji Marg. There, the public and numerous dignitaries paid homage, including former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Congress President Sonia Gandhi, and Vice President Rahul Gandhi, and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav. On the morning of 29 July, Kalam's body, wrapped in the Indian flag, was taken to Palam Air Base and flown to Madurai in an Air Force C-130J aircraft, arriving at Madurai Airport that afternoon. His body was received at the airport by the 3 service chiefs and national and state dignitaries, including cabinet ministers Manohar Parrikar, Venkaiah Naidu, Pon Radhakrishnan, and the governors of Tamil Nadu and Meghalaya, K. Rosaiah and V. Shanmuganathan. After a brief ceremony, Kalam's body was flown by Air Force helicopter to the town of Mandapam, from where it was taken in an army truck to his hometown of Rameswaram. Upon arrival at Rameswaram, his body was displayed in an open area in front of the local bus station to allow the public to pay their final respects until 8 p.m. that evening. On 30th July 2015, the former president was laid to rest at Rameswaram's Pei Kurumbu ground with full state honors. Over 350,000 people attended the last rites, including the Prime Minister, the Governor of Tamil Nadu, and the Chief Ministers of Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh. India reacted to Kalam's death with an outpouring grief. Numerous tributes were paid to the former president across the nation and on social media. The government of India declared a 7-day state mourning period as a mark of respect. South Asian leaders expressed condolences and lauded the late statesman. The Bhutanese government ordered the country's flags to fly at half-staff to mourn Kalam's death and lit 1,000 bottle lamps in homage. The president of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, also expressed his condolences. Kathleen Wynne, the Premier of Ontario, which Kalam had visited on numerous occasions, expressed deepest condolences. As a respected scientist, he played a critical role in the development of the Indian space program. As a committed educator, he inspired millions of young people to achieve their very best. And as a devoted leader, he gained support both at home and abroad, becoming known as the People's President. I join our Indo-Canadian families and friends and neighbors in mourning the passing of this respected leader. United States President Barack Obama extended deepest condolences to the people of India on the passing of former Indian President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and highlighted his achievements as a scientist and as a statesman, notably his role in strengthening US-India relations and increasing space cooperation between the two nations. The Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam National Memorial was built in memory of Kalam by the DRDO in Pei Kurumbu in the island town of Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu. It was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in July 2017. On display are the replicas of rockets and missiles which Kalam had worked with. Acrylic paintings about his life are also displayed, along with hundreds of portraits depicting the life of the mass leader. There is a statue of Kalam in the entrance showing him playing the veena. There are 2 other small statues of the leader in sitting and standing posture. Let's learn about the personal life of Abdul Kalam. Kalam was the youngest of 5 siblings, the eldest of whom was a sister, Asim Zora, followed by the 3 elder brothers, Muhammad Muthu, Mira Lebbai, Marai Kayar, Mustafa Kalam, and Qasim Muhammad. Kalam was extremely close to his elder siblings and their extended families throughout his life, and would regularly send small sums of money to his older relations, himself remaining a lifelong bachelor. Kalam was noted for his integrity and his simple lifestyle. He never owned a television and was in the habit of rising at 6:30 or 7 a.m. and sleeping by 2 a.m. His few personal possessions included his books, his veena, some articles of clothing, a CD player, and a laptop. At his death, he left no will, and his possessions went to his eldest brother, who survived him. Let's learn about the religious and spiritual views of Abdul Kalam. Religion and spirituality were very important to Kalam throughout his life. In fact, he made his own spiritual journey the subject of his final book, Transcendence: My Spiritual Experiences with Pramukh Swamiji. A proud and practicing Muslim, daily namaz and fasting during Ramadan were integral to Kalam's life. His father, the Imam of a mosque in his hometown of Rameswaram, had strictly instilled these Islamic customs in his children. One component of Kalam's widespread popularity among diverse groups in India and an enduring aspect of his legacy is the syncretism he embodied in appreciating various elements of the many spiritual and cultural traditions of India. Kalam's desire to meet spiritual leaders to help create a more prosperous, spiritual and unified India was what initially led him to meet Pramukh Swami, the Hindu guru of the Baptist Swaminarayan Sampradaya, who Kalam would come to consider his ultimate spiritual teacher and guru. In his book India 2020, Kalam strongly advocated an action plan to develop India into a knowledge superpower and a developed nation by the year 2020. He regarded his work on India's nuclear weapons program as a way to assert India's place as a future superpower. Kalam wrote, "I have identified 5 areas where India has a core competence for integrated action. Number 1, agriculture and food processing. Number 2, education and healthcare. Number 3, information and communication technology. Number 4, infrastructure, reliable and quality electric power, surface transport and infrastructure for all parts of the country. Number 5, self-reliance in critical technologies. These 5 areas are closely interrelated and if advanced in a coordinated way will lead to food, economic and national security." Kalam received 7 honorary doctorates from 40 universities. The Government of India honored him with the Padma Bhushan in 1981 and the Padma Vibhushan in 1990 for his work with ISRO and DRDO and his role as a scientific advisor to the government. In 1997, Kalam received India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna, for his contribution to the scientific research and modernization of defense technology in India. In 2013, he was a recipient of the Von Braun Award for the National Space Society to recognize excellence in the management and leadership of a space-related project. Thank you for listening to this discussion on APJ Abdul Kalam. For more such discussions, get the UPSC Practice app from the App Store and visit upscpractice.com.